Jojo Rabbit is written and directed by Taika Waititi and is about a 10-year-old boy in Hitler's youth trying to get into Hitler's army whose imaginary best friend is Hitler, depicted by Taika Waititi. And he finds out that his mother has been hiding a young Jewish girl in their home. Now, this movie surprised me in many ways. Now, I've been excited for this movie and been anticipating it and everything, and expected something fun from Taika within the same realm of his other movies. But this movie delivered so much more than I expected. First of all, this movie is absolutely hilarious. The banter between characters is quick and witty, and it uses this unique perspective of Jojo by having him talk to and interact with his imaginary version of Hitler. And of course, since this is within the mind of a 10-year-old, Hitler never gives any good or wise advice, and is very much so represented as what a 10-year-old would think his idol would be like. While the writing for the comedy is excellent, it wouldn't work quite as well as it did if it wasn't for its cast. Roman Griffin Davis, who plays Jojo, does a surprisingly good job of carrying this movie. Taika as Hitler is of course hilarious, but the supporting cast shines just as much as they do. Scarlett Johansson plays Jojo's mom, who is very, very charming to Jojo and to a lot of people, but you can tell that she's withholding a lot of real emotion about the situation that her family is in. And the other supporting characters are surprisingly fairly fleshed out as far as a comedy like this goes, especially Sam Rockwell's character. But the best performance in this movie comes from Thomasin McKenzie, who plays Elsa, the young Jewish girl that Jojo's mother is hiding in their home. Seeing Thomasin's performance in this does really reconfirm after her movie from Leave No Trace from last year from Deborah Granick that was really good and that she was really good in, that she is definitely going to be one of the strongest actresses coming up in Hollywood right now. And like I said, the other performances are really good in this movie. Some people are going to point out that some of the German accents aren't very great, which is true. But it works for this movie with it being a comedy, and I think the performances are strong enough that even a questionable accent doesn't really hinder it that much. But with Thomasin McKenzie's character Elsa, this is where the movie genuinely surprised me. I expected this movie to be funny, which it very much was. But what I didn't expect was how much care and heart Taika put into this movie. This movie feels surprisingly personal to Waititi, and you can tell from the way that he writes Elsa and builds relationships between certain characters throughout the movie. Waititi himself is of Jewish heritage, and while the initial joke that he's been using kind of to sell this movie is a Jewish guy playing Hitler, as kind of an FU to Hitler and fascism and all that, is funny, of course. But there's also a message he's trying to send to people with this movie about being human in general. I think this is Taika's best directed movie so far. I think it's his best work. There's one brilliant use of foreshadowing by using the way a character is framed within the camera that some people might say is too on the nose or something of that sort, but I still found it incredibly effective in the movie. Another thing this movie does very well is its use of tones and its tonal shifts. It does an excellent job of changing the tone of the movie while still keeping the overall feeling of it the same. And those changes feel completely necessary to the narrative of this movie. And that's another thing that seems to be happening with this movie and its critical reception. There has been some, and will be some more, incredibly snobby and pretentious critics of this movie they'll say that it shouldn't have done this, or it could have done this better, or all this other stuff. And it's all out of sheer nitpickery of this movie, which I hate when people nitpick stuff like this, which seems to happen a lot with most of Taika's movies. This movie isn't perfect, but there was something so surprisingly endearing about this movie, and some people might say it's teetering on sentimentality because of it, but I think it does an absolutely great job of executing that. Taika doesn't only make possibly the funniest movie of the year, he also brings a surprising amount of emotional depth and period appropriate drama to this movie that I did not expect. Overall, I really loved this movie. I thought it was incredibly refreshing in comparison to a lot of the recent movies I've seen in theaters. I was very surprised by how much I liked it. I really hope that people will allow themselves to enjoy this movie in the same way that I did, and I can't recommend it enough. I think everybody should go see it if they're even remotely interested in it. I do think the movie has its problems, but I think that the positives of this movie outweigh those problems by a lot. And I had so much fun with this movie that I didn't expect to have as far as an actual comedy goes, but as far as a story that was really entertaining and really well done. I really was surprised by this movie, and I'm going to be rating Jojo Rabbit a 9.5 out of 10. Now, have you guys seen Jojo Rabbit yet? Let me know, and I'll be back with another video.